Hello, I am at Ricky's house today. That's Ricky, and that's Tom in the kitchen. And we are doing some wet felting because I've not done it before, really. I've done it once, but Ricky is a master, so he's going to show me how to do it. So we've got a range of fibre. Ricky's looking up reference pictures, and that's my fibre, which is slightly less impressive than Ricky's range, which part is over there. I'm going to insert a reference photo here of what I'm going to try to achieve. Okay, what are we doing?
So we're just about to add some boiling water to some soap that I have made. It's just, I used a vegetable peeler just to put some bits in here. It's not very scientific and I just covered the bottom. We will add some hot water from the kettle, stir it, and then add some cool water to get it to a point where we can touch it, but that it's still very hot.
Cool. This is mine, which the reference photo will have been inserted, in theory. And this is Ricky's.
That's my reference photo.
Yeah, it's still there. Nice. And we're using a mad variety of fibres. So this one, well, most of it, to be honest, was probably bought at Wonderwall. And then we've got a few other things that we got from World of Wool. This is a pearl-infused cellulose that Ricky got conned into buying. We're going to see how it felt.
Okay, so what we've just done is we started off with a piece of, what would you call it, polyethylene?
Yeah, well, plastic.
Well,
Plastic bag.
It came from a fibre fair. It was a bag. We've laid it over the top. We've soaked up our hands and started to slowly work. Immediately you'll find that whatever you've laid down gets much darker. I don't know, there we go. Gets much darker. Don't fret, because it will come back to how you originally laid it out, just flatter. You start by slowly working it. We were just talking before about whether or not to use fingers. Do whatever feels right, because sometimes you need to get I've got some Jacob wool in here that takes a little bit longer to take. It's a little bit more coarse, but everything else is mostly merino, and that's just really kind of taken. Miranda's piece over here, we've turned over to work the back. That gives you the ability to move it a bit more vigorously, and as you can see the coloured fibres are starting to come through, showing that it is felting together. The pre-felt I started using because it stops it moving around too much. It gives you a piece in the shape that you, that's a little bit of silk, put that over there. It gives you the shape that you originally designed. So now we are taking the plastic away and working at that a little bit more vigorously to get everything to felt in.
Cool. How do you know when it's done?
If you give it a bit of a pinch test around, you'll find fibres that probably be more towards the edges. When the fibres are still coming out, means you still need to work a little bit more. We won't be fulling this as if you would for something you would make for something you're going to wear, maybe like a hat, or if you're making a bowl or something that needs to hold that structure, because this is just going to be looked at. It doesn't need to be worked as much. So we won't take it too much further past here, because we're also, once we've washed and dried, we will then needle felt. Okay, so once you have worked it as much as you need to work it, you'll end up with something that is incredibly soapy, depending on the soap you've used. Just try to gently rinse out most of the suds. Don't push too hard or you'll start to felt the whole piece together. Take that out and sort of ball it up in a different way and run it under the tap. You'll see that all of the suds will start to come out. You'll also see that there will be pieces in your work that hasn't quite felted, but we can come back to that with the needle later. And what you're aiming to do is to get all of that soap out. You can start to be a bit more rough with it once it's not so soapy. And then come back. If you needed to full it a bit longer, you could try shocking, which is putting it into sort of hot water and then putting it into cold water, and that sort of gets the felting process going a bit more. Otherwise, if you're happy with what you've got, I'm happy with that. I'm just going to top this up, maybe about half full of water. Give it a little squirt of white vinegar. You could use any vinegar, but just bear in mind that it will have a little bit of a smell.
Why?
Because this is resetting the acid level in the wool. And then that stops any further sort of felting as you're ironing.
Mental.
Which is the next step. But now it does stink of vinegar, so then give it a bit more of a rinse until some of that smell will evaporate in the next phase. So, like that.
You've literally blown my mind.
Okay, and then that's what we've ended up with.
Nice.
When you're ready, take it over, put a towel over your ironing board, give it a bit of a gentle squeeze, and then come on it with the iron at a wool setting, and just give it a bit of a press. If you're concerned, if you've been using any cellulose fibre, like I have in the background here, and you're a little bit worried that it might end up sticking or melting, maybe just turn the work over and work from the back. And you kind of apply a bit of pressure, and you'll see that the water starts to come through onto the towel and the rest evaporates away. And I will do this until it seems relatively dry enough to work with, to needle felt into, without sort of, I mean, you could dry it in the sun, but I'm just impatient. And then you'll end up with something sort of flat and not as steamy. So it will, this bit does take a while. So eventually, you can see how half-assed I was with this stuff.
Looks good though, like it's quite rustic.
Yeah. The good thing, really, is that all you're getting is a natural wool through. It's not like you're getting that through. Yeah.
So we have both dried our pieces and we're now needle felting some detail onto them. So Ricky has added a tree on top and now he's doing a bush at the bottom. He's deviated from the reference, but that's sort of the idea. And I am adding detail to my houses at the moment because I can't figure out how to do what I want to do. So I got back from Ricky's earlier and I've just spent about an hour adding to my piece. So this is where it's at the moment, and that's the reference photo. And I'm going to now try something that I've not tried before, ever. I've got my sewing machine out and I'm going to sew some of the white detail into the houses and possibly some bricks and roof tiles. And then there's a few things up here, like there's an electricity line and a bird and some stuff in the trees. I probably wouldn't do the electricity line if this wasn't a place that I know, but this is the view from our house, and it's quite an iconic thing having that line down there, so I'm gonna put it in. It's a really still evening and I just wanted to show you my finished piece. So I needle felted up here all of the houses, and then I also needle felted a bit more detail into the trees here. And then I didn't like the way it was, so I used my sewing machine to just embroider some of the fine detail on. I probably won't do any more to it. There are still parts of it that I can see that I think need improvement, but I'm really pleased with it. I especially like the bird. There we go, that's the finished piece. Now I have to figure out how I'm going to display it. I'm not entirely sure. I'll show you when it's done, probably. The reason I'm in the garden this evening is because it's currently 32 degrees Celsius, and I thought it was a perfect evening to spend wet felting in the garden. Not that I have a new obsession. I really hope you've enjoyed this. I think something that Ricky and I both pointed out whilst we were talking was that this is just the way that we do things. Neither of us is an expert. I am by no means an expert. But other people may have different ways of doing things. I'm not going to say what's right or wrong. I don't believe there's a right or wrong. I think that you do craft because you enjoy it, and if you like the way you do it and you love the result, then that's the way you should do it. I'll see you soon. Bye!